Hey, Ed, with the Chiefs offense and the amount of motions and shifts and different kinds of plays, what kind of challenge is it just to prepare for everything they can present?
Yeah, they're really a top level offense. Everybody knows that, and there's movement virtually every play, so it really makes us focus. We got to be, really detailed. It's quite a challenge.
Next one, Taylor Brooks.
Hi, Coach. Yesterday we chatted with Bradley Chubb, and he described himself as being a bull in a china shop, just with wreaking havoc and being really intense. How much do you enjoy that intensity, and how much do you have to bring that into this weekend especially?
Yeah, well, with Bradley, yeah, he does bring great strength and power to the game, and but it's his energy that we're feeling as a football team and his leadership, and that just keeps growing. So we're really pleased on the course he's on and the month he's had and where he is now.
Next one, Zach Stevens.
Hey, Coach, what did you think of Malik Reed's game last week, and is that a stepping stone for him to take moving forward?
Yeah, it sure is. And he had some other good plays where he was hustling. I know everybody looks at the sacks, but this guy continues to grow. Undrafted free agent, great job, by our scouts of identifying him, bringing him in here. And in year two, he's a major contributor.
Next one, Pat Graham.
Hey, Coach, how you doing? Hey, when you see the Chiefs run it 46 times, what kind of problems does that present when you're so focused on Mahomes and that Kelsey and Tyreek Hill and all that?
Yeah, now there's more balance, obviously. They set a world record. We'll see where that goes. But we're prepared for anything. But they're running the ball really well right now, and it gives them a dual threat, so that makes it even tougher.
Next one, Troy Rank.
Coach, does Mahomes remind you of anyone you've game planned for throughout your career? And how much do you have to plan on seeing Le'Veon Bell, even if it's in the slot as a receiver?
The first question, who's he remind you of? It's just a small group of people, in that group. Aaron Rodgers, Brett Favre, guys can move around and got laser arms. There's a couple others, but pretty special. Le'Veon Bell, they're just adding another guy that's really good, So they got weapons all over the place. We got to deal with people, and guys are going to have to win one-on-one matchups because you can't help everybody.
We'll go to Eric Dewala next.
Coach, with Draymond, if he's able to come back, what does he do for that interior pass rush there?
Well, he was really heading in the right course. This guy's giving us interior rush and really spiked in camp. This is a guy that really came together. A lot of our guys, they do better after a break, and so we're looking for him to add a spark, add interior rush. Really, really happy to have him back.
Guys, time for a few more. Next one, Mike Kliss.
Coach, you said you prepare for anything. Mahomes beat this team, I think, the year before you got there by just going schoolyard, running all over the place, drawing it up in the dirt. That seems to be when he's the most dangerous. Is there a way to prepare for the off-script type plays that he makes?
Yeah. First of all, the thing you're mentioning, Mike, is you got to prepare for the first play, and then you got to prepare for the second play. And really, that is, when it starts to be recess, and guys moving around, we got to be tight in our coverage. We got to keep playing. We got to play longer in the down. So we put that in our practice. The other thing is you got to do everything you can to contain him, to minimize the length of those plays. So it's, whether we do it with adding people or just being really strict in our containment lanes. So it's all that together. We're trying to shorten it. We're trying to, in all the second plays are different, because they're off script. So we're looking for both. They're inevitable. They're going to happen. So we got to come through.
Next one, Arnie.
Hey, Ed, in talking to Michael Legemudia earlier in the season, he was talking about how facing Brady and some of these iconic quarterbacks, in his mind for a young guy, was going to kind of throw him into the fire and speed his progress. Have you seen that start to happen with him, week to week?
I think as a young player, every week is, separate, and we're just trying to help his cumulative knowledge help him in the next game. But yeah, again, you see Brady, you know, as a guy that you probably looked up to, and all these guys down the line, and Mahomes. But you're catching up as a rookie. You're working hard every week. The task is a big task. What we do like is things are starting to show up. You know, he forced a couple turnovers, you know, caused fumbles, had a couple breakups, but every week it's a stretch to come through.
Final one, Ryan.
Hey, Ed, you guys have used, feels like some more dime personnel this year, including on the last play against New England when you have Duke out there. What do you and Vic like about the options about having an extra defensive back out there?
Yeah. Well, there's times in the game where you just need more guys to match up on guys who are going to be releasing in the route. It's that simple. So we get stronger matchups. Sometimes there's backs that need defensive back on them, certain tight ends and so forth. So just gives us another cover guy.
Coach, good to see you.
Good to see you guys.
With the way Drew played, what did you take from that performance? And man, you guys were aggressive. You weren't kidding around, and you're throwing deep strikes to begin and end. What did you see from him, I guess, that makes you be that, you know, that confident after his absence, that was, you know, a way you can use him?
No, I think, you know, we felt like, you know, we had to be aggressive. And I think that we got to be that way against everybody we play. With regards to Drew, I think he, you know, throughout the games, I think he was seeing things well. You know, I think for the most part, he was putting the ball where he wanted to. There's certainly things within every game you got to clean up technique-wise. I think there's, you know, 2 throws at the end of the game you'd like to have back. You know, I don't know if anybody's ever played a perfect game. Those certainly were mistakes that came at a bad time for us, of course. But, you know, I thought he was seeing things pretty well. He was into it. You know, and even when it's a good play, you know, for him to come back and say, hey, I saw this, and, you know, I really did put the ball where I wanted it, you know, it's good. And, you know, I think it's important that, you know, if they're going to present the type of coverage that the Patriots did, you have to take shots on them because they were pressed and they were man-to-man, you know, a lot of one-on-one situations. You know, early in the game, you were right. We had a PI against Big O for – I don't know, for some odd reason, they decided to pick it up. That puts us on the 1-yard line. And then a play later on third down, you know, he puts a nice ball on Jerry Jeudy in the end zone, which also could have been a touchdown at that point, which changes the game early in the game. So I don't know if it's just a cavalier attitude. I just think, you know, depending on who you play and how they play you, you know, sometimes the ball gets down the field more against some teams than others.
Next one, Mike Kliss.
Yeah, Coach, I think at training camp is when you said that Drew likes the 60-yard check down. And is that what we saw there on his last throw, the 3:23 left, 1st and 10 at the 25, when he threw it deep down the middle? And got
I mean,
picked?
that was a vertical throw. That was a ball thrown in rhythm. You know, I don't think that was a check down. I think we're going to see a guy that throws 60-yard checkdowns this week. You know, when Mahomes flushes from the pocket and starts running around, you know, and it's off schedule, those are what I would consider 60-yard checkdowns, and he's pretty good at it.
Next one, Ryan O'Halloran.
Hey, Pat, 2 for you. First one is Alberto did make his debut. What would you like about his game?
Well, there was a lot of good. You know, he got a chance to make some plays. You can see he's got playmaking ability. You know, he caught a nice short one, a shallow cross, and ran for, you know, I think a total of 18 yards, which was good. He had a crossing route on third down that we hit, got us down in the red zone. You know, so he had some good plays. And then I think he had some other plays that, you know, he had a chance, in my opinion, with the ball in his hands in the end zone twice, which changes the you know, the scope of that game if he does that. So with young players who have some talent like he does, when you put them in there's some good things, and then there's certainly some things that they need to improve on.
And secondly, Pat, the red zone numbers aren't great. Is that a product of youth and some growing pains when things get set in such tight quarters down there?
I don't know that. You know, I just made we should have scored in the first series, I felt like. Then we had a couple other opportunities where, if it gets down to a second or a third down and you throw it and, you got to throw it and put it in the right spot and you got to catch it, and I thought we had some opportunities that we didn't capitalize on. And when that happens against good teams, they don't give you a bunch of chances to do that when you get down there. So I just don't think we took full advantage of our opportunities, and we paid the price for it, and I think we as coaches are always trying to get them good looks in those one-on-one situations. And then it's important that we keep as coaches looking at doing the things that are right. And then ultimately, the full execution of it comes down to all of us.
Next one, Jeff Legwold.
Hey, Pat, I was looking at Andy's first staff in Philly, and there's like 5 of you guys, I think, that were head coaches, have been head coaches. When you're calling plays now in 2020, what impact did being on that staff have on you and how you do your job today?
Well, I was greatly impacted by that staff. We were a bunch of guys that were career coaches, and we're really educators at heart. We were a bunch of guys that were trying always to do the very best we could to help our players be the very best they could be. And that's kind of what Andy throws off just naturally. Andy's a teacher. Took a lot from those early years. A lot of those guys that you're referring to are longtime friends. There's a lot of people that I work with in Philly that are now with the Kansas City crew that are longtime friends. And so, the camaraderie of that, we weren't very good to begin with. We were developing a young quarterback named Donovan McNabb. We were really good on defense with Jim Johnson, and then we eventually built a team that went to the Super Bowl and won a lot of games and NFC championships. And so we were a part of that. And along the way, you learn lots of things that, you'll forever remember that help us as teachers as we move forward.
Now, Andy said it was because you played center. I just want you to know that.
Andy, well, as ex-linemen like he and I are, we have an appreciation for how difficult and sometimes how cerebral playing offensive line is. And so we've always had that bond. We were O-line guys that kind of moved through our career and coach skill players, and I think having that background of knowing what it looks like up front helps us there.
Next one, Zach Stevens.
Hey, Coach, with Alberto playing, and if you get Noah Fant back this weekend, if you have them both on the field at the same time, what challenges does that present to a defense? And with Noah getting healthy, is that something that you'd want to see coming up?
Yeah, there's a good chance. If they're both up, which it appears like they probably will be, then there's a chance they'll both be on the field at some point together when we're in Tiger. When you have two guys that have a chance to make a play in the passing game, it's a better question for a defensive coordinator. But, we like that. I think the more good players you put on the field or guys that have a chance to make plays, it doesn't guarantee anything, but it gives you more chances.
Guys, time for a few more. Next one, Arnie.
Hey, Pat, a couple months ago, I don't think Tim Patrick was on many fans' radars, considering the depth you had. Then Cortland goes down, and Tim's really kind of seemed to step up and be the leader of that group as far as experience goes. Did you see this kind of play in him? Did you see him kind of grow into that role quickly?
Yeah, I think a coach's radar and a fan's radar sometimes aren't aligned. I think we as coaches appreciate everything that Tim does as a football player, and he's a classic example of a guy that when he has been given his opportunities to make plays, he makes plays. So whoever the quarterback has been in there, he's put the ball around him and he's caught the ball. And I think that's what you need to do as a receiver. Aside from that, and all the things we appreciate as coaches are, we could play him at any three of the receiver spots, and he can line up properly and do the right thing. When we ask him to block, he blocks. And, you know, I think we appreciate all that he brings to the table. And it's interesting, you know, I guess because he wasn't on the fans' radar, they didn't think he was all that dynamic. But we as coaches see it way differently. We look at guys that produce and do what you have to do within the scheme of what we're trying to execute, and he does that.
Thank you.
Guys, just as a reminder, please use the lower your hand function if you no longer have a question. We'll go back to Ryan O'Halloran, and then we got time for about one more after.
Hey, Pat, how has Curtis Motkins been able to carry out some of his duties from home this week, and who's taking over him on the practice field?
Yeah, we're kind of circling around his duties here, you know, and, you know, as we go through the week, you know, we're able to do some things on the Zoom, you know, where he's able to check in and be involved with some of the game plan, or, you know, with the game planning, and then some of the presentations to the players. You know, I think this has been a week where we've had to do pretty much everything exclusively by Zoom, as far as an offensive team or a team setting. And so we're kind of getting used to that. I figured out the mute button, you know, and I know how to, you know, I guess it's screen share and stuff. So I'm learning some stuff as we go here. But yeah, Mod's been involved. And then we as an offensive staff are kind of curling around his duties here.
Final one, Jeff Leibond.
Coaches have wanted me to have a mute button for a long time, Pat. But and I just following up on Tim, Drew said yesterday that when you guys talked after you first came in, he made it a point to tell you that, hey, Tim Patrick is a guy I think can have real impact. Do you remember those conversations and just how were they?
I do. And you know, I think, you know, Drew has a good view and a good appreciation for who Tim is as a player. And, you know, I think it's interesting when you're a skill player, regardless of what anybody thinks of you, in this league, you have to do the right thing on a consistent basis so the quarterback trusts you. You know, it comes down to trust quite a bit. And, you know, so you build trust in practice. You build trust over time. This is how you're going to run this route. This is where I'm going to put the ball. You know, there's times when you throw it in there, it's just not perfect, but the guy catches it. You know, it's the trust. And I think, you know, that trust thing is so important in our business. And a guy that's there and on the field and competing at, you know, a high level all the time, you begin to trust them. And I think that happens over time. And I do remember that conversation because I didn't know any of these. I didn't really know anybody here, you know. I have obviously a way different opinion than some of the people that knew Garrett Bowles from last year, you know. So, you know, I think, but I do remember that conversation. And, you know, obviously Drew has a very high opinion of him.